Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Concerning the news, there's actually more to talk about related to politics and elections in other countries than there is changes on the battlefield. Because not much is changing on the battlefield. And here's why. Putin's normal grinding attritional tactics are failing in the city of Vovchansk. 2 months ago, the Russians had the brilliant idea to reinvade the Kharkiv Oblast. And it's been a complete disaster. For people who support Russia, they're coping with this failure by saying some kind of 1-2 punch is coming soon. Russia never really wanted to take the city of Kharkiv. This was a feint, and a stronger, more powerful attack is coming in Zaporizhia, Donetsk, or Luhansk. When in reality this is it. The Russians spent 6 months building up their forces for a major summer offensive, and this was it. It's been a failure. The primary 3 reasons: the United States passed military aid in April, shells and relief started arriving in May to blunt this assault. The second reason, the Czech-led artillery initiative, the shells have started arriving, about 100,000 or more a month. And then the third reason is Ukraine's dramatically increased their own domestically produced FPV drones. The Russians can't go anywhere. They can't drive a vehicle anywhere without being slammed by an FPV drone. So the reports are that tanks and armored vehicles can't even get to Vovchansk because the Ukrainians are destroying them before they can even get across the border. For political reasons, Russia's going to continue this fight in Kharkiv for probably another couple months, continuing to lose troops and commit resources. But I do think by this fall, they're probably going to retreat back to their side of the border and hope Ukraine doesn't chase after them. And this is how bad it is. Zelensky says Russian casualties are 6 times larger than those of Ukraine. The ratio of Ukrainian and Russian military personnel losses at this stage of the war is 1-6. So Ukraine's not really going on the offensive anywhere. They're just trying to hold. And the Russians furiously are trying to take territory, sending their troops to die. And the clearest to date indicator of how Russia is struggling with personnel is in the last 2 weeks there's been a series of videos of injured Russian soldiers stating they're being forced back to the front lines before they've healed, while they still have open wounds. For Russian soldiers who can't walk or run, they're being told to get in a tank. Just sit in the tank and go on the offensive. So I've got 2 clips. I'll link the second one down below, but for the first one, let's read what these wounded Russian soldiers are telling the world. We are servicemen of the 26th Tank Regiment of the 47th Division. We are in the Special Military Operations Zone in the LNR. More than 50 people have arrived from hospitals. These are the remnants of 3 different companies. Our command took us to this location and sent us in groups to go on combat tasks, although everyone here needs surgery and hospital treatment. Field medics shrug their shoulders at requests and refer to the command. The documents we were given in the hospitals clearly state that we are able to be given leave due to injury, the need for further treatment and rehabilitation. None of this is being fulfilled. And on the contrary, military personnel who are not combat ready are sent to combat missions, although we still have not received veterans' certificates. Not everyone receives allowances and payments for their injuries. Appeals to the command to solve this issue are without results. Reports for sending to the VVK, the Medical Military Commission, are not accepted. This video message is our last chance to reach the command through the Military Prosecutor's Office, the Ministry of Defense, and the President to take urgent measures in accordance with the current legislation We are preparing, and we are ready and willing to continue to defend the motherland and to serve Russia. To do this, we need to recover our health after injuries received in battle. Hear us, please hear us, please hear us. This is our last chance. We have no more options. If we wanted to get away from all this, we would not have come here. This is our decision. We love Russia. We won't go for Russia. Russia go, Russia forward, hurrah. For the Empire. All these men are going to die. There is another clip. I'll link this down below. These are two brothers with visible wounds on their bodies. Also being told they're ordered to go into combat before their wounds have had a chance to heal. When they're in need of surgery, when they can't even walk or hold a rifle. This is who Russia is sending into combat every day. Russian Mad Max assault near Vuhledar results in a motorcycle cemetery. So these are the pictures. The bodies have already been cleared, but this was a failed meat assault by the Russians. And these are motorcycles. Cheap Chinese motorcycles. There is an argument, if you want to say the advantages of a motorcycle. The footprint on the ground is smaller, so you're less likely to hit a mine. You can move relatively fast, faster than an APC, but it offers zero protection from FPV drones and machine guns and artillery. I don't get it, guys. Every day, this is what happens. These are the pictures I see. I just don't get it. So, of course, here's the joke. We've already seen Russian soldiers with electric scooters, but all they really need is a Russian imperial flag and a machine gun on the handlebar. And sure, send them into battle. So here's some interesting graphs put out by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense. Once again, these are their own reported numbers, but you can see the trend. In the month of June, 1,415 artillery pieces were destroyed by the armed forces of Ukraine. This has been achieved. Once again, shells arriving from the United States and the Czech initiative, but also just Ukraine's FPV drones. I've seen the production lines. I've seen how much money and time and resources from ordinary Ukrainians are going into producing these relatively inexpensive $400 or $500 FPV drones. And they can take out artillery pieces firing on Ukrainian cities. Likewise, here's the graph showing Russian air defense systems that have been destroyed in the last 12 months. These are Pantsers, Buks, S-300, S-400. And this is insane. How many air defense systems Russia loses every month. And they just keep going. So here's the update on F-16s. They should already be there, but bureaucratic hurdles, and also I think Ukraine knew they weren't ready. So the Netherlands completes the export license process for 24 F-16s. The Dutch defense minister says these jets will reach Ukraine soon. But Ukraine has to protect them when they're in the skies over Ukraine. Russians claim of a devastating missile strike on a Ukrainian fighter base filled with half-truths. So there's a video the Russians released, and this is an air base inside of Ukraine. It's located northwest of Poltava. And the Russians got a reconnaissance drone to the base, saw the jets parked on the runway or in the holding area, and they fired a cluster ballistic missile, and the reports are that 2 jets were destroyed or damaged. These are old Soviet jets, Su-somethings, but this can't happen when F-16s arrive. These planes are so critical and important, the process of getting them, the process of training the pilots. So Ukraine needs better air defense systems. Ukraine expects strengthened air defenses in the month of July. An entire Patriot system is coming, I think, from Germany, the United States, the Netherlands, and Romania. That's 4 additional Patriot systems being set up, being spun up, currently as we speak. And these really need to be in place before the F-16s start doing combat missions to protect them. Here's an interesting clip. This is the husband of Margarita Simonyan, the head of RT News. His name is Keo Sayan, and he is speaking pretty honestly in this clip. Here's what he has to say about the future of Russia's war efforts. What is security? The security of a country has certain subtypes, points, and so on. Still, we, our country, should do everything to ensure that what remains of Ukraine, if anything remains of it, would be friendly to us. Because this darkness, I perceive it as a darkness, because for many years it did not exist. And then the Americans came, and suddenly it appeared. And this transfer to the Western Ukraine ideology and everything else can be dispelled. Whether with the strikes of our aerospace forces or the work of information, opposition, and partisan channels inside Ukraine, it doesn't matter. With the deterioration of the standard of living, it is desirable for us to be on the same side with Ukraine before the battle that is certainly ahead of us. What we have now is, as horrible as it sounds, a harbinger to war. It is a war, but is a harbinger of a real European war to come. So this is the Russians saying, Ukraine is the first stepping stone, and they have to beat Ukraine into submission and force what remains of Ukraine to join their side before they can invade the Baltics, before they can invade Poland, Finland, whoever. Russia has no intention of ever stopping. And he talks about peace or a ceasefire. It's a chance for Russia to rebuild and then continue these wars in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So Russia is carrying out their stated plan. 1 dead, 9 wounded in a bombing of a post office in Ukraine. This is what the Russians have been doing in recent months, targeting post offices, targeting home repair stores like the epicenter. They're trying to destroy Ukraine's ability to regenerate, as they just want to kill everyone and destroy everything until Ukraine learns to love Big Brother. It's not going to happen, but they're being honest about their plan. Thankfully for the world, the Russians are idiots. They're incompetent and corrupt. Dozens of Russian glide bombs have fallen on their own territory. Document reveals why Russia keeps accidentally bombing itself. A document obtained by the Washington Post suggests Russia's glide bombs have fallen on its own territory 40 times in 1 year. Experts believe the accidental bombings are caused by defective munitions. We think these accidental releases are caused by the unreliability of these kits, something that does not seem to bother the Russian Air Force. That a certain percentage of their bombs just hit their own people in their own cities. They don't care if their own people die. Dagestan church and synagogue attack hits a toll of 22 dead. This was a very interesting response from the Russians, because this was very different from the Crocus City Hall attacks. And I think the reason why is that the shooters in the Crocus City Hall attack were foreigners. They were from Tajikistan. It was easy to single them out and say, you know, the CIA funded and trained them and wanted them just to go kill some Russians. But these shooters in the Dagestan attacks are Dagestani. They're Russian citizens. Gunmen simultaneously attacked 2 churches, 2 synagogues, and a police checkpoint on June 23rd. So this was a massive network that coordinated all Russian citizens to kill Jews and Christians and police officers. I don't think it's a stretch to say these people are separatists and they would like Dagestan or the Caucasus to be their own country that can purify itself and become entirely Islam. Russia's got a problem, and they need to figure out what they're going to do about it. Russia raises gas tariffs to highest level in 11 years to save their energy giant Gazprom. So Gazprom no longer turns a profit, and as long as sanctions remain in place, it'll never turn a profit. Every day Gazprom stays in business, it just hurts the Russian economy. It just loses money every day now because it can no longer be profitable. So the brilliant idea is to raise tariffs on gasoline inside of Russia. This means that Russian citizens will be paying 20% more for gas over the next 2 years, and that gas prices will have increased by 34% since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Is it worth it? I'm asking the people of Russia. I think we'll get an answer at some point next year. So here's the next logical step. Putin needs bodies for the decades of war that Russia has committed to rebuild the Soviet or Russian Empire. So this is the Deputy Minister of Justice of Russia stating at a St. Petersburg legal forum that bills are being worked on to get Russian women to have more children. And it's not with incentives, it's with punishments. Here's what this guy says. We are now actively preparing bills to prevent the spread of the child-free movement, which overall says that young women don't need to give birth and that they can do without having children. There are many extremist ideologies like that, so to speak. As a matter of fact, these bills are being prepared today, and we'll work them out with you accordingly. We need to build such a legislative system that would ban all of these trends on the territory of the Russian Federation and countries that today are actively interacting with the Russian Federation and share its values. Let's say these laws should be actively worked on and moved forward with, and this needs to be an instrument to protect our values. So if you're a woman in Russia who doesn't want to have kids or only wants to have 1 or 2 kids, screw you. Russia needs more soldiers. They need more workers. They need more taxpayers. So the government of Russia is going to start punishing women who don't have kids or find a way to just forcefully inseminate women to make them give birth because Russia needs more people. They need more soldiers. Let's now talk about European politics. Exit polls show the far-right party takes the lead in the first round of the French election. This is concerning because the far-right party generally doesn't support Ukraine and generally is friendly with the Russians. So Macron seeks to thwart the French far-right in a second round of elections. How this works in France, I'll link this video down below. It does a good job of explaining it. It's from the channel TLDR News EU, and it's titled, France's Insane Election Results Explained. And for me as an American, this map is confusing because in America, blue is associated with the left and liberal, red is associated with the right and conservative, but in France, it's actually the opposite. So the blue represents the far-right party. This is Marie Le Pen's party. The red represents the liberals. This is the New Front. And the yellow represents the centrists, which is Macron's party, the Ensemble, or I think it's called Renaissance. So in the first round, you can vote for whoever you want. And there's lots of parties. You know, this one got 9.8%, this one got 2.9%. And if anyone gets a clear majority, over 50%, they win that seat. So Marie Le Pen's far-right party won outright 38 seats. The New Front, the liberal left, won 32. And Macron's centrist only won 3, so that's pretty concerning. But when you get to the second round, you change your votes. And this is what Macron is hoping for. So if you don't like the far right and you, in the first round, voted for the liberal left, you tend to switch your vote to the centrist, to Macron's party in the second round. The same happens on the other end of the spectrum. If you are in the the far-right camp, and you can't stand the liberals on the left, you might switch your vote to the centrist, which is Macron. But this might not happen. People are pretty entrenched and pretty fixated on their political issues, and nobody's really happy with Macron's party. So the best case scenario, the likely scenario, is a divided government. If Marie Le Pen's National Rally Party manages to get a majority of the seats, they'll control the parliament. But President Macron is still the president of France. He's not going anywhere. He still has a couple years left in his term. France does not frequently have divided governments, but that's what could occur after these elections. This was a huge gamble from Macron, but we're going to find out together how this plays out on Sunday. Other political news: Viktor Orban in Hungary has assumed the presidency of the EU Council. Here is their slogan, "Make Europe Great Again, MEGA." And Viktor Orban decided to go to Ukraine. He's visiting President Zelensky today. I don't have any interesting clips or translations. It's just a meeting at Ukraine's presidential house. But this is the first trip that Viktor Orban has made to his next-door neighbor in 2.5 years. So I view this as positive, even though I don't like this guy. He's clearly Putin's puppet, and Putin offered him something. There's this small sliver of territory inside Ukraine with a majority Hungarian-speaking population. Viktor Orban figured he was going to get some territory out of Russia's invasion or something. Who knows? But if Viktor wants to survive, and he thinks Russia is weakening, then he'll do something like this. Just make a diplomatic visit. This is actually an indicator of weakness, that after 2.5 years, Viktor's now willing to be somewhat cooperative on certain issues. He's hedging his bets. He thinks potentially Russia is going to lose this war. That's my interpretation. Other political news: Russia has assumed the presidency of the UN Security Council. This is a rotating responsibility. Each of the 15 members on the UN Security Council hold the presidency for a month, but it's just everything in aggregate, guys. Viktor Orban being the president of the EU Council, Russia being the president of the UN Security Council, the far right gaining in France, the Trump gaining here in the United States. Feels like a lot. But Ukraine's not quitting. And I'm not giving up either. I'm just going to fight even harder to stop these guys. The United States to provide $2.3 billion in a new security assistance package. Whenever I see the $1 billion, I assume there's a Patriot system either being donated or ordered for Ukraine, because that's a lot of money. Other good news: Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria have started clearing the Black Sea of mines to help Ukrainian grain exports. We don't talk about this enough, but I think it's almost been a year, but yeah, Ukraine has been getting their grain out through the Black Sea. They created a new corridor that hugs the coastline along Romania and Bulgaria. And Russia's Black Sea fleet doesn't even operate in the Black Sea anymore. So Ukraine, along with Turkey, Bulgaria, and Romania, are just going to start removing the mines, because there's no Russian ships there anyways. Final clip I want to play again from Pete the Combat Medic. News dropped 2 days ago of his passing last week. Lots of people knew Pete's and had seen his content, seen his videos. So I want to share one more. This wasn't the first video that went viral of Pete. That was when he was in the snow, passionate about military aid being blocked. But this was one of his follow-up videos when he realized he could be a voice. He could be a voice for Ukraine, given that he speaks English clearly, and he's got, in my opinion, an interesting personality. But this was one of his first videos asking for people to stand up and support Ukraine.
Dear friends of Ukraine, we are soldiers fighting against a tsunami of iron and molten metal. We don't have the tools to hold back the Russian invasion and the genocide that is happening in Ukraine. We are at your mercy. Stand with us, stand with Ukraine, because we will stop this invasion where it is. We will stop it from coming to your doorsteps, to your children, to your homes. Your basements don't have to be torture chambers. Ukraine will do this. All we need is your weapons. All we need is your ammunition. And we don't need it now, we need it yesterday. This is not a joke anymore. This is not a time for dilly-dally. This is not a time for procrastination. This avalanche will only gain momentum if we don't stop it, and we can only do it with your help. Please, man, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of freedom, for the sake of life, and for the sake of not letting this go into a full-scale European epidemic, pandemic, catastrophe, Armageddon, please stand with Ukraine today. God bless you. Thank you for your help so far, guys.
I didn't mention this verbally in my last video, but I want to once again highlight the latest fundraiser that Pete and Project Constantine were working on. They were fundraising to purchase a variety of needs for the 67th Brigade. It's ambitious, £320,000. You can donate in dollars, it's converted. But they were hoping to get all of this stuff, and this is the video that Pete put out for his latest fundraiser before he lost his life. I'll put the link down below if you want to kick in $5 or $10. We can maybe supercharge this and help the 67th reach their goal. Russia will be defeated. It's just a question of time, and how many people also have to give the ultimate sacrifice. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.